Libs of TikTok has been outing violent lefties after they celebrated the hit on Trump. Here's a compilation of everyone who has been fired. MK needs to go back to their old design, so every time I see them fire, I think, what do I gotta do to get her to grate my face? Dude, they need, you know what they needed to do? They just need to go back to MK9. MK9. They just need to go back to MK9. MK9 was peak. Oh my god, that game was fucking amazing. And it's been just rapidly downhill ever since. Like MK9 and Injustice 2. Those two games were like peak NetherRealm. Everything since then has been shit. But like MK9, like Melina and Katana, they were like literally like they looked like strippers with big fake like breast implants. And I was just like, toasty. Anyway, let's get into this discussion about cancel culture, because after we read this, go through this list, we're gonna watch. Lauren Chen actually did a really good compilation and a rebuttal against the right wing weaponizing cancel culture and being hypocrites. She did a really good job, and I want to highlight that. So let's read this first. Remember in the past how every time a conservative somewhere said something mildly offensive or rude, the entire internet would demand that he lose his job and have his life ruined. Well, in the wake of the assassination attempt against Donald Trump last week, our old friend Chaya Raichik at Libs of TikTok is happily returning the favor. Except this time, it isn't people getting outed for using the wrong pronouns or supporting the Second Amendment, but for celebrating the attempted assassination of a president. She has the receipts, including of everyone who lost their jobs. So here's the list. We got a Pennsylvania House staffer. By the way, totally, I think that there's absolutely no argument to be had for anybody in public office or that worked for the government. So I see councilwoman, it's automatically fair game. A for effort. Okay. Fired. Update. Heather is saying the matter has been dealt with and refers to Jess as a former staff member. It appears Jess has been fired. Violence has no place in politics. Earlier today, blah, 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 we know this boilerplate shit. Please join me in praying for our former president, the loved ones of Corey Comparatore, for David Dutch and James Copenhaver, and for all those impacted. Okay? A firefighter in Pennsylvania. Also, public service. No argument. Meet Tony Bendel, a firefighter in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. He's upset that the bullet missed. A bullet did not hit Corey, though, a rally attendee who was also a firefighter. This is especially disgusting coming from a fellow firefighter and someone who's supposed to protect others. And by the way, the firefighter who died literally protecting others, his family. You know, it's like, too bad it didn't hit him square. Wow. Edgy. So cool. So brave. So stunning and brave. Tony has resigned his position as a firefighter. Oh, they convinced him to resign. He got off easy. Please accept this as my resignation. I'm not reading that wall of text. This is so far past anything that should have been condoned. It's one thing to ruin my life. I accept that. But to put everyone else in danger around me, to shut down everyone's daily life, this is not okay. A PA county staffer. Meet Rick Notari, community outreach manager for What the fuck is with these community managers, man? These community managers are out of fucking control. He's very sad that the shooter missed. He's a government employee. Our taxes pay his salary. Thank you to the heroes of the Secret Service who threw themselves into what appeared to be a hail of bullets. Find whoever did this and persecute them to the fullest extent of the law. None of this is okay. Praying for everyone there in Butler. It's a shame the guy missed. Oh, so edgy and cool. The Lackawanna County Commission's indefinitely suspended Community Relations Manager Nick Notari today for an inappropriate comment he made on social media following the blah 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 blah. A New York hospital worker. Meet Janice Binns, a nurse at New York Hospital. She's mad at the shooter because he missed. Fired. Good morning. Please see below. Thank you. Statement from New York Presbyterian. Oh, it's like a religious church. Or religious church. That's obviously a church's religious um, hospital. Core values are centered around respect and caring for all of our patients, colleagues, and communities. Words and images or actions that advocate, celebrate, or amplify violence are in violation of our policies and will not be tolerated. This individual has been placed off duty while this matter is investigated. We are aware of the post made this morning by Phil Whipple. Those statements had reflected the view of Phil and not retraction. Our race community sponsors partners. Phil's relationship with RaceCon has been terminated. Oh, this is a different person. RaceCon. Is this a race car driver? Oh, here we go. My Facebook page is hacking just like yours. I did not write the offensive post. Wasn't even awake at the time. It's always a hack. They always get hacked. Come on. Really? Our Discord got hacked a couple of weekends ago. No, last weekend. They didn't write shit like this. Like, come on. I was aware that a group of these people were government employees. Yeah, they don't get First Amendment protections, especially with stuff like this. Yeah, exactly. A worker with auto racing group Race On. Okay, so this is okay. The next shooter isn't gonna miss. This was just getting your attention, and I see it work quite well. By September 1st, the man will be dead, and the half of us in this great nation who understand what a threat he is to democracy will stand and cheer. Ah, yes, it is so very democratic to game end your political rivals. Very democratic of you. God, these fucking people. Phil Whipple, an employee of RaceOn, has been terminated following his threats for another assassination attempt. He tried to claim he was hacked. Nobody is buying it. Fuck around, find out. Also, Secret Service, you should investigate. A Sioux Falls school worker. They also shouldn't get don't get First Amendment protections. Meet Cassie Martin, a behavioral specialist at Sioux Falls schools. She's very sad that the shooter missed. Any comment? Shoot, if only he would have had his scope sighted incorrectly. He didn't use the scope. This is somebody who doesn't know anything about guns. Not the Discord. Yeah, you remember the Discord incident that happened last weekend. That's I don't care if you flip burgers. Fired. Cassie was actually fired this morning. Glad that the school took swift action. A Kentucky University professor. Meet John James, professor at Bellarmine U. He's very sad that the shooter missed. I like how the format for every one of these is exactly the same. It's just meet X of Y. He's very sad that the shooter missed, and then at place of work any comment. Like, it's the same format for every one of these. Professor John James of Bellarmine University has been placed on immediate unpaid leave following our expose. A North Carolina resort worker. Okay, this is private sector. Hey, Pinehurst Resort, this one of your employees? Someone just barely missed. Michael has been fired. This individual no longer works for the company that manages Pinehurst Caddy program and is not employed by Pinehurst Resort. Okay, well, that's the list so far. I'm surprised that this list didn't list that Home Depot worker woman, but I guess that's because that wasn't done by Libs of TikTok. So, the whole point of me reading this is that I feel like this is the first time that the roles have been actually reversed. Like, since cancel culture became a thing, way back in 2014. For the last 10 years, only it's a very specific political persuasion has wielded the power of cancel culture, like truly wielded the power. You know, that last one I probably wouldn't go after. You're making a distinguishment between the public and the private sectors, right? That's what you're doing. Totally understand that. There's been a lot more than this too. This is just the ones that Libs of TikTok did an expose on and have resulted in a firing. That Phil Whipple needs a visit from the police. Yeah, he threatened a follow up. Let me close this tab. Now, there's something that One of the most recent things that I showed, or I posted. Go down to the bottom, right here. Desktop audio off for a sec. Okay. So this is the Home Depot girl that got hounded because she posted shit on about being sad that the shooter missed. So this is a video that Lauren Chen just put out just 12 hours ago called Right-Wing Cancel Culture Outrages Lefties. I think I need to resize this too. Hang on. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and react to this video because I actually think that this is a fantastic video from her.
Are you Darcy Waldron? Yeah?
I was Waldron, yeah.
Okay, from Cayuga? And you think that the shooter should have been a better shot? Is that what you posted on Facebook?
This is wrong what this guy's doing. This is very wrong. You don't... This kind of public confrontation shit ain't right. It is not. You don't take this kind of cancel culture shit offline and go into the real world. It just... It's not good.
I am at work.
You think that the shooter should have been a shooter, huh?
I am at work.
Yeah, I think that's pretty messed up. Pretty anti-American if you ask me. As a veteran, I'm disgusted. What have you provided to this country?
Let's talk about cancel culture, specifically right-wing cancel culture. Now, I kind of briefly touched on this in my last live stream. If you missed it, then go ahead and check it out. But following the events of July 13th.
This is the case where I had severe issues. Yeah, the public confrontation thing like that, I take serious issue with that.
There were quite a number of leftists out there who took to social media to express how they were actually not only upset that Trump himself didn't die, but also even in some cases how they were at the very least happy that one of his supporters died. Now, in response of this, Libs of TikTok, a huge account on X, has been going on somewhat of a, I guess you could say, crusade to expose as many of these people as possible.
Wait, that one was new. Hang on. These weren't in the list. Geraldine Champion, a councilwoman for the city of Henderson. Okay, councilwoman, completely fair game. She claimed that the assassination attempt that killed a loving father and almost killed the president was fake. There was a lot of people saying this. This is one of the first things I talked about at the beginning of the stream. And so there was a lot of people that think the whole thing was staged and it was fake. The ketchup packet conspiracy.
As many of these people as possible.
Also, what the fuck is she wearing? She thinks she's like... Did she think it's like 1912? Like, what the fuck is this? What is she wearing? Anyway.
These people as possible. And
meet Mary Walsh, an assistant professor at Berkeley College. Completely fair game. Public colleges, state colleges, completely fair.
as a result of that, some of the people who've been featured on her page have, yes...
Jen Manis. Manis is a middle school teacher. Completely fair.
Actually been fired from their jobs, and so we now have this debate with
a mayor of a Pennsylvania township. Yeah, I think that's fair game.
within the right, and also, you know, centrism.
So was South Carolina NDA.
Leftists themselves weighing in. Are we comfortable with this? Should people who publicly wish for the death of Donald Trump and his supporters be fired from their jobs? Or is that cancel culture, and does that just make us no better than the left? Now,
the thing is that I think that she's going to get into this, but I think it's apples to oranges. The thing is that when you celebrate, wish, and advocate for violence, specifically for political reasons, that is the literal definition of being a terrorist. That is literal terrorism. Like, terrorism is defined by engaging in violent acts for the sake of political gain or manipulation. Like, that is like the textbook definition of terrorism. And if you decide to engage in, even, I don't care how light it is, but if it's like, you know, if you're basically saying like, oh yeah, let's do terrorism online, yeah, you should be fired. Especially if you hold public office or any kind of public, you know, government job, whether that be a teacher, or working at, you know, a city councilman's office, or in some of these cases, being like a mayor or whatever. Like, but she does a good job here because I don't consider this cancel culture, considering what people are being fired for now versus the absolutely ridiculously mundane shit that people were getting fired for up until this point.
Now, like I said, I kind of covered this in the live stream I did on Wednesday, also going over some of the recent events at the RNC. So again, if you missed that live stream, go ahead and check it out. But basically, my take on what's happening is this. When it comes to what politicians or teachers or really anyone that works with children, when it comes to what those people are posting and saying on social media, yes, I think it matters. And yes, I am fully on board with, you know, a mayor or a city councilor losing their job for supporting an assassination attempt, or definitely, you know, a teacher. And I would never in a million years send my kid to a public school, but I could imagine if I were a parent that I certainly wouldn't want my son's teacher basically being okay and publicly cheering on the death of maybe me because I support Trump. But when it comes to everyday...
Exactly. She's 100% right on that. Public office, teachers, all that kind of stuff, 100% fair game. Like, no argument to be had. Now, you could make the argument. You can start making arguments when you get into the private sector. That's fair to have that argument.
People who arguably do not operate in the public sphere, when it comes to them losing their jobs for, you know, publicly calling for the death of Donald Trump and Trump supporters. Here is a post by someone named Linda Peterson. In it, she wrote, "Damn it, he didn't die. Well, at least one supporter did. I'll take what I can get. My heart goes out to the family of the shooter. Know that he died doing what needed to be done. Hopefully someone will accomplish the task before we vote." I'm not the type of person who would bother to track down this woman's employer, contact her, and try to get her fired. That's just not me. However, I am also...
Yeah, that... I'm the same way. Like, the moment you start engaging, like, taking this shit offline and out into the real world, that's where I draw my line, too. Like, that guy confronting this woman while she was at work at Home Depot, way over the line. Way over the line. Do not do that shit.
So I'll just say it, not the type of person who has a problem with someone like this being fired. And frankly, in my opinion, calling someone getting fired for a post like this cancel culture, I think is just a gross misuse of the term. Like, it's always been not kosher, not okay to publicly encourage violence. Totally normal, in my opinion, to get sacked for doing something like that. Cancel culture is something completely different. And no, I'll just say it, I don't think we have reached a point yet where the right is actually engaging in cancel culture, at least not in the same way that the left does, and at least not on this issue. And
yeah, this is why I actually watched the video. Hi, Parker. This is why I wanted to react to this video, because this was my very first thought as well when this argument was brought up to me. I'm like, wait a minute. You're saying that public figures and even some private non-public figures who are like basically advocating for political violence, which is like literally advocating for terrorism, should probably have their employment checked out. I think that's completely fair, and I do not consider that cancel culture at all. Cancel culture is getting somebody harassed off of social media and fired from their jobs for saying men aren't women, for saying learn to code, for having milquetoast opinions that 45+% of the country agrees with, for saying, yeah, like the shit that non-leftists have been getting canceled for, whether that be getting banished from social media and or losing their jobs over the last 10 years, is so fucking mundane in comparison to what leftists are getting canceled for, quote unquote canceled for right now. You guys remember Nicholas Sandman? That kid, the Covington kid? There were celebrities calling for him to be thrown headfirst into a fucking wood chipper because he smiled at an Indian. Was there ever any repercussions for that? No. Turns out the Indian is an activist and a liar, but that doesn't matter. No repercussions. No. That kid wore a MAGA hat and smiled at an Indian. Therefore, wood chipper. That's what cancel culture is. That is, destroy that, get that school defunded. If that kid had a job and fire that kid. Like, that's cancel culture. Cancel culture is people getting banned off of Twitter for saying learn to code. For saying men aren't women. It's like it's apples to oranges. I'm sorry, but there is a difference between what was going on up until this point and what is going on right now. They are not the same.
And so to remind you all of what cancel culture actually is, and to give you examples of the type of cancel culture that, yes, conservatives have been dealing with for the past several years, I thought we would go over some of the most heinous examples of it. Lest anyone out there maybe start to believe that, oh, the right is just as bad as the left now. No, we're not. Okay, we're not. We're not even close to that, so just quiet. Before we get to that, though, I do want to say a big thank you to today's sponsor, Patriot Gold. Look, guys, there is a reason why historically gold and silver precious metals have been seen as hedges against uncertainty and volatility in the market, including inflation. And I know maybe a lot of you are interested or curious about investing in precious metals, but you're not really sure where to start or even how to go about that. But that is exactly why I love the people over at Patriot Gold. You see, you could protect your retirement with gold or place a bullish bet on silver. Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late and mention this channel's name, Chen, and you are always going to get best-in-class service from Patriots protecting Patriots. It doesn't matter how little or how much experience you have investing with precious metals, Patriot Gold Group is going to hold your hand through the entire process, answer any questions you may have every step of the way. And Patriot Gold Group does have the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver. So you may be eligible for the no fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call today. Don't wait at 888-270-9223, and you'll also get a free investor guide. Don't forget, Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs top-rated gold IRA dealer 7 years in a row, which is impressive, and I love how committed to customer service they are. So again, give them a call at 888-270-9223, guys, if you are looking to get into some investments, maybe plan for your retirement a little bit, plus you would like to support these videos at the same time, then giving Patriot Gold Group a call is a great way to do both of those things at the same time. As I was saying, I don't think losing your job because you are publicly calling for violence on social media is cancel culture. What I do think is cancel culture, though, is when this officer who gave $25 to Kyle Rittenhouse's defense was fired. And reminder, Kyle Rittenhouse was eventually exonerated. He was found innocent of the charges against him, but still, this police officer was fired for donating to a legal defense fund. $25? Well, that's gonna cost you your job. We also have this example from merely 4 years ago of a California man who was fired over allegedly making the white power sign, though he says he was actually just cracking his knuckles. Guys, even if he wasn't cracking his knuckles, best case scenario, you fired someone for doing this. Again, so if we want to talk about what cancel culture is and is not, getting fired for a $25 donation for making the OK hand sign, just not at all the same on any level as getting fired for publicly supporting violence and someone's death and an attempted assassination. And to anyone who might say, yeah, that particular
100%. This is I love this. Buying gold and metal is actually a really good idea. Just make sure it's stored somewhere it can't easily get stolen. Yes, literally bury it. Literally bury it. It is true. I actually do own a little bit of gold. Because it's a good trump card in case the shit really hits the fan, because gold will always have value. And the trick is buy commemorative coins and shit like that, because commemorative coins and stuff like that isn't considered currency. Therefore, it can't be confiscated. That's the trick. So you always buy like the nice solid gold commemorative coins and stuff like that because they're not currency; they're collector's items. So anyway, I'll get into it. And she's 100% right here. People getting fired for, and I remember that truck driver, because that was like a couple weeks after the 4chan shit tried to make the OK hand symbol like a white supremacist like dog whistle, and 2 weeks later, a guy gets Karen'd on because he's cracking his knuckles. Like literally, I do that when I crack my knuckles. I do the same thing, and he got fired for it. Like, fucking absurd. Got censored again? Uh-oh, let me break out the string on my phone. Oh, never mind, my phone's dead.
Particular Linda person who was actually cheering on the death of the Trump supporter. That's not okay, but broadly, maybe it shouldn't be such a big deal if people were joking about Trump not getting shot. I mean, he's a politician, a public figure after all. Should he really have the same standard of treatment as just your everyday average person? Well, I don't know. How about we ask the individual who was actually fired from her job after she posted on Facebook that Obama was a thug? And I know you might be looking at this headline saying, hang on a second, a jury gave
Fucking Trump is way more of a thug than Obama ever was. Motherfucker got fucking bullet wounds to prove it.
her $1.5 million. That doesn't sound like the left canceled her, but actually get this. It turns out that the official reason her employer gave her for her termination was the Facebook post, but the employee in question actually sued for wrongful termination, saying that no, she was fired because she brought up a safety concern that the employer didn't want to address, and the jury sided with her on that, i.e. the fact that she was fired was really because she basically complained about unsafe working conditions, which means, in theory, if she actually had been fired for just saying Obama was a thug, that would have been okay. Oh, here's an even more recent example. You guys might remember,
yep, I remember
this
this
little boy's life was almost ruined after it was claimed that he was wearing blackface to a football game. Yeah, clearly photos from
It wasn't just blackface, it was blackface and redface. They claimed that he was culturally appropriating and wearing blackface and the Indian shit, because like the headdress plus the red paint. Like, they tried to claim both. Now it was some fuckwit from ESPN that did that. I think he eventually actually ended up getting fired or losing his job in some way. And this kid got hella support from everybody. This was one of the cases, a recent case of like cancel culture, like turning the tide, if that makes sense. Was this kid?
different angles show that that was not the case. And again, just please remember, the media almost crucified this small child because he was wearing face paint. That actually brings us to one of the best examples of left-wing cancel culture. Remember the Covington Catholic guy?
Yeah, this is the one. To me, this is the most egregiously disgusting one. Is Nick Sandmann and the Covington kids. This, every time I think about this, it gets me fuming. Every time. Pretty sure he got fired too, but it was a smaller sports/tabloid magazine. Yeah, it was some little hodunk, like, offshoot of ESPN, and I think they just basically folded it in because they were downsizing like all the other online media companies and shit like that. So he was just like a victim of that. I don't think it was directly because of the Kansas City shit. So, like, yeah, he didn't get consequences for that. Mag being bought, I think it was because it was failing.
Guy, again, his life was almost ruined because of a video showing him smiling, smirking at a Native American man. For that, he received death threats. For that, he was labeled a racist and all of these terrible things. Look, I'm just gonna say it. When the right starts doing stuff like this,
we don't know what the payout was, but we do know that it was sizable. Nick Sandmann got a fuck ton of settlement money from CNN and a bunch of other, like, mainstream news outlets. They all settled with him, and he's got some bank. Which, good. Good. I'm glad. I want him to have fucking bank. I think I'm the Alien hasn't apologized for the guy just because he was a Navajo. Oh yeah, fucking identitarians, man.
Then you can
The fucking Nava bitch.
talk to me about right-wing cancel culture. If we are actually just saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't be a teacher if you're posting that you're disappointed that the shooter missed. I'm sorry, but no, that is not the same. But wait, there's more. We are not nearly done going over the list of people's lives who have been ruined for opposing the left in the most trivial ways. As this post by Joey Manarino says, the leftists destroyed a Colorado baker's entire existence for refusing to bake a cake for a gay wedding. They gloated as a 75-year-old man was blown to pieces by the FBI for making some off-color jokes about Biden online. They banned endless amounts of us from social media and lost us sums of money that cannot even be fathomed by doing so, and I'm supposed to feel bad for some of them being fired for wishing death upon my president and fellow Americans? Not at all. They created this environment. This is the world they wanted to live in. And actually, another
I love it. I fucking love that. That's such a good, succinct way of like saying, like, hey, I just wanted to play checkers. You insisted that we play chess. Don't get mad when I start winning at the chess game. Now, Baker has to be the oldest case here. Oh my god, dude! I've lived in Colorado for like the last 10 years. And so, like, that shit was, like, making local news all the time. And it was just constant, to the point where, like, the judge actually had to, like, dismiss a case, like, with malicious, or, like, with malice, or something. I can't remember the term. But it's basically dismissing it and not allowing it to be brought up ever again, essentially. But they found a way. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but they found a way. That, like, they accused him of something else. Some other bullshit. They just kept going after him. You know? With prejudice. Yes, that's it. With prejudice. Thank you. When people stop getting arrested for driving over rainbow crosswalks, I'll start caring about leftists getting fired. Yes. Thank you. People literally getting their lives ruined because they burned out their tires on a gay painting on the street. You know, like, that's meant to be driven over.
Example here, pointing out current injustices that the left is committing on behalf of cancel culture. When people stop getting arrested for driving over rainbow crosswalks, I'll start caring about leftists getting fired. Very well said. You actually have people charged with felonies nowadays for driving over rainbow crosswalks. That, okay, is a
Yeah, it's true. It's 100% true. 100% in agreement with this. College campus, nearby family-owned bakery, I think it was called, a racist for charging a black shoplifter. Well, there was a, it was a pastry shop or something like that was on, like, the UC Boulder campus for, like, forever. And they accused them of, like, similar kind of shit. And so they just said, fuck it, we're leaving. And they just lost this, like, this beloved bakery or something like that. Because a couple of woke cunts, you know, decided to call them racist on campus. Yeah, it's fucking good. It's disgusting.
Misuse of justice and force. This person getting fired from her teacher job after wishing that the shooter had a better scope. I'm sorry, but that's just not something that I'm that upset about. Oh, and by the way, speaking of unjust firings and cancel culture, I'd of course be remiss if I didn't mention Gina Carano. As this meme says, Gina Carano fired by Disney for pointing out government-created divisiveness. She made her own bed. There's consequences for what you say. Meanwhile, Kyle Gass dropped for talent agency for rooting for a successful assassination. No, Kyle did nothing wrong. No, Jack Black, why didn't you defend him? Absolutely 100%. Oh yeah, and speaking of cancel culture, remember like when this guy, this scientist, basically got canceled for wearing what people perceive to be a sexist shirt?
This dude landed a fucking satellite or like a probe or something like that on a fucking comet or like a meteor or some shit like that. Like the first time it was ever done. Like I can't remember exactly what it was, but he landed something on like a meteor or a comet or some shit like that. It was just like, you have any idea how fucking hard it is to figure out the physics of how to do that? Like that's a serious accomplishment. COVID tickets are counter protesting Black Israelites who were saying a bunch of racist stuff towards the Navajos, calling them hatchets. Yeah, exactly. That the Black Israelites were spewing all kinds of racist shit at the Navajos and the Catholic kids. And the Navajos, actually, what they did was they I think it was the Navajo guy, he confronted the Israelites first, but he realized like really quick, like, oh, these guys are kind of scary. And so he backed off and went towards the Covington kids. And Nick Salmon was just there, and he's like, you could tell that he's confused because he's just kind of frozen. Like, there's a situation happening, and I don't know what the situation is, and I don't know how to react to it. And so he just stood there frozen. And they said that he was smirking, but it was more just like a neutral, like a lot of people have like a slight smile just like naturally when they relax their mouths. You know what I mean? So you could tell that Nick Salmon was just like standing there frozen, like not knowing what to do. You know? And because of that, there were people calling for him to get thrown into a wood chipper. Like, oh my God, just disgusting. Disgusting. That awkward smile was because he had no clue what to do or how to react. Yeah, in your opinion, yes, I would call it a fact if you know anything about just people's faces. He got scared of the Israelites, though, and he claimed to be a non-vet. Yeah, that was a lie too. That's right, dude. Them Black Israelite people, they can be scary, like because they are militant, and you know, they will pack heat. You know, you kind of do actually have to be careful around them. So, but yeah, this dude, he lands like a satellite probe on a meteor or a comet or whatever, and at like the celebration, he wears this shirt that has like sexy girls on it in a collage kind of form, a shirt made for him by a friend of his who is female. A woman friend of his made the shirt for him. And he got basically driven to tears because of the shit that he was getting online for this.
And he was actually crying over all the attacks he was getting, and this was just a shirt that actually a female friend, I believe, had given him. Insane stuff. And actually Mark Kern, Grums on X, he did a great thread just talking about all of the times that people have been canceled in the gaming industry by crazy leftists. Someone else named Notch was canceled and removed from Minecraft credits because he...
Never forget that Notch made Minecraft. Never forget, Chad. Remember his interview? He said he saw the two groups fighting, and he instinctually knew the white kid was at fault, even though he couldn't hear what they were yelling at each other. He admitted to being racist on live morning television. Yeah, I know. He was exposed as just another racist activist who projects the racism onto other people. You know. So.
He tweeted, "It's okay to be white." So I guess, yeah, tweeting for literal violence, A-okay. Tweeting, "It's okay to be white," totally unacceptable. Then the firing is justified. And here we have a story.
Notch. Wait, was Notch fired? I thought that he just sold Minecraft to Microsoft. Didn't he sell Minecraft for like $1 billion to Microsoft? And then they basically, once they got it, they erased his existence from the credits or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it went down. But Notch is, I actually think that one of his most famous things is when he was one of the first people who tweeted, the left has become evil. That was his tweet. That was from, 2013, 2014 when he tweeted that. One of the very first instances of like pushback against leftism in the gaming space was Notch's tweet. The left has become evil.
Story of a Hogwarts Legacy developer
Troy
quitting
Levitt,
or being forced to quit after backlash over the fact that he made YouTube videos where he expressed anti-SJW, anti-feminist views. Another story, Palmer Luckey, co-creator of Oculus, was canceled and fired from Facebook for donating to a billboard that supported Trump. Here we have several different hit pieces on him. And here, I didn't know this, apparently the Five Nights at Freddy's creator was canceled over his political donations to Trump. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got canceled because he was a Christian. The FNF guy is a Christian. That's what put a target on his back.
Hit piece from the Mary Sue. The creator of Five Nights at Freddy's has some scary politics. Yeah, won't apologize for supporting Trump. So scary. Here we have one game developer who was fired for tweeting that he identifies as an attack helicopter. And guys, the reason why...
There's also the woman who worked for that game restoration company, or that it's a company that all they did is like release old games. I can't remember the name of it, but she basically said that she wanted to play and was going to play Hogwarts Legacy, and she was fired for it. So, yeah. And not to mention all the VTubers who were relentlessly hounded, like Silvervale, Pikami, for wanting to play Hogwarts Legacy. Like, don't even get me fucking started with these people.
Why I bring up those examples of actual cancel culture is to remind you all that the previous status quo, where left-wingers could say anything that they wanted with impunity, but right-wingers couldn't even remotely express that they disagreed with progressivism without being fired, that status quo was unsustainable, okay? Something frankly just needed to change, and that's not even going into the fact that brands themselves, companies, would also be free to embrace left-wing causes, but they couldn't even hint that they were maybe okay with right-wingers lest they, again, be canceled by the left-wing mob. Look, we are finally starting to get some semblance of social and political power back as conservatives, as right-wingers, whether that's the successful boycotting of Bud Light, or yes, now the idea that leftists know that, hey, you can't actually just say that you support killing conservatives online and people will be okay with it. I know it's uncomfortable right now and no one wants to see anyone fired, but look, guys, this is...
I do. I'm totally fine with it. Dude, I just... I want them to have just a fucking taste. Just a little... It's a tip of the tongue. Just a little fucking taste of the fucking hell. The absolute hell that they have been putting people who disagree with them through for the last decade. Just a little fucking bit. And it's like, I know that, like, we're kind of in this Boromir-like position with the One Ring. Like, if the One Ring is cancel culture, Boromir is like, let me wield it against this evil. We finally have a tool that can defeat our enemies. You know what I mean? And then the Aragorn is, the Killjoy Aragorn. It's like, no one can wield it, and it's like, that motherfucker was wielding it against us this whole time. It's very much a Boromir-like situation. But, like, again, that falls into the trap of it, like, what's happening now being in comparison to what's happened over the last decade. They are not the same. They're just not the same. What people are getting fired for now are not the same things that people were getting fired for before. And to make that comparison as like a one-to-one is disingenuous.
Is mutually assured destruction, if nothing else. And also, I would remind you all that if you're a conservative who is going to be standing up for anybody, it should be for the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of conservatives out there who still feel like they can't freely express their political or social opinions lest they face consequences like getting fired, getting canceled, or losing all their friends, or whatever it may be. The person you're sticking your neck out for should not be the leftist who is online literally rooting for your death and demise. And that's the thing, it's not even just random leftists who are being canceled here following the Trump assassination. It's actually the most radicalized of them, the ones who would absolutely cheer if you were to lose your job for your political opinions, because really, who else would be crazy enough to publicly post that they're sad Donald Trump didn't die, or that more of his supporters didn't die? And to anyone who might say that these opinions make me hypocritical, look, I don't think it's hypocritical to hold people to their own standards. Okay, leftists have shown time and time again that they think it's perfectly acceptable for people to be fired for their political views. And if they don't like that, well, that makes them the hypocrite, not me. And also, again, that's even accepting that what we're seeing is cancel culture, which I don't think it is. I don't think it is cancel culture for your job to say, hey, you're fired because you called for someone's death online and encouraged violence. That is very different.
Which is literally against the law.
than losing your job because you made a political donation to the wrong candidate. That is very different than your life being ruined because you smiled at a Native American man. That is very different than being taken to court because you don't want to bake a gay wedding cake. And honestly, to any right-wing person who disagrees with me here, who says, no, Lauren, we're going too far, I don't want it to be this way, please just keep in mind that these people absolutely would have been happy to have you fired, to have you potentially put in a camp, and to potentially have your children taken away from you for something like not getting the jab. No, we are not as bad as the left now because we don't want people to advocate violence against us online, and it's so not even close. That's basically all I have to say for now, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.
No, it was great. I am 100% in Lauren's camp here. That they are not the same comparison. The people getting canceled are the absolute most extremists on the other side. And she kind of mentioned, you didn't call it out by name, but like the whole Batman dilemma, which is like, you let your enemy go enough times, they're just going to turn around and kill you. You know what I mean? At some point, you have to put your foot down. And you have to fight on the same terms that they're willing to fight on. And I think this is a good moment. So I think the website get what? I don't think you're talking about what I'm talking about. But yeah, that I completely agree. Because that's the other thing. It's that like the things that the right was getting canceled for before was nowhere even close to being anything that could be considered illegal. Whereas the things that the left is being quote unquote canceled for now is literally illegal. Like, or at least I think it'd be argued to be illegal. You know, like some of these people probably actually will get a knock on the door. You know what I mean? Because some of them are like literally saying like, yeah, let's do it again. Like they're engaging in advocacy for literal terrorism. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's against the law. You're not, the First Amendment doesn't protect you for that kind of speech. It just doesn't. So kind of stop being Batman and be Punisher until the crazy Zack civilized a kid. Yeah, well, this was the brilliance of the talk between Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, and the Punisher on the rooftop. That's one of they have that whole discussion about like why one kills and the other doesn't. You know what I mean? And the whole point of that is that, you know, there are certain scenarios that call for one and there are other scenarios that call for the other. Like they're both in the right. It just depends on what scenario calls for which one. And NDA is absolutely correct. In this scenario, the Punisher is the proper way to go. It just is. Because that's again, what's like one of the greatest, what's that quote? Like the one of the greatest ways for to make the left to stop doing what they're doing is to subject them to their own rules, to their own standards. And it's like, okay, well, turnabout's fair game. You know what I mean? Like it's really not that much more complicated than that. It's like there's no way that this is gonna stop, that this cancel culture shit is gonna stop, unless the left truly feels the effects of it, until they truly suffer from it for just a little bit, just a little fucking bit. And they're like, oh, this thing that we've been doing for a decade to right wingers is really fucking awful. You know, maybe we should back off of that and actually talk to them. You know what I mean? Because we have now experienced it, and it's like, oh my god, it's like that. What was that Family Guy joke? That there was that dude that was in prison, and he gets bored, and so he just takes like a shiv and he stabs himself with it, and it goes, ow! Oh my god, that really fucking hurt. Man, is that what I've been doing to people this whole time? Oh, I belong in here. You remember that? that's like what needs to happen to the left right now. Like, they need to feel what it's actually like to suffer under this shit. Only then, maybe, will they be just a little bit introspective. Also pretty cool that we can keep getting stories about the Joker. So perhaps they shouldn't. Both the Joker and the Batman should just murk most of their villains. Oh yeah. I mean, if superheroes were real, that's exactly what would happen. Like, that's one of the things that I kind of like about shows like Invincible or The Boys, is they show a more what would more realistically happen if superpowers existed. Because to me, like the season 4 of The Boys aside, what both of those shows, my main takeaway from those two shows is nothing political or anything like that. My main takeaway from the two shows is, thank God that superpowers aren't a real thing. That's my takeaway. Because if superpowers were real, those shows exemplify more closely what would actually happen, and it is horrific and terrifying if we had to live in a world with those kinds of people in it, with people capable of doing those kinds of things. Thank God we don't live in a world where superpowers are real. Because that's probably what you would end up with, and it's horrifying. So, yeah, but I guess that's kind of the point of superhero comics, or at least what they were before they got corrupted. Was like, well, give people these powers, but we can also imbue their characters with almost like supernatural principles, like principles that you and I would probably never be able to enact or keep to the way that the heroes in the comic books do. That's why they're an ideal, you know. That's why they're like figures of inspiration, is because they can do the right thing when practically nobody else, including myself, would probably do. You know what I mean? And that's a source of inspiration. It's a source of introspection. You know what I mean? Which is exemplified perfectly by that Punisher Daredevil communication. Anyway. Hey guys, this is your Wandering Helmsman. Thanks for coming aboard. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more, you can watch my news and reaction live streams every Saturday where I stream these videos live, or come on board with me on my various adventures in gaming throughout the week. All streams are at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I hope to see you again on the next voyage. This has been your Wandering Helmsman speaking. Over and out.